Welcome back to the channel. William Steiner, the first world chess champion from Austria, once said, "Chess is not for timid minds." Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you a game of Gong Thon Gong, the South Sudanese finest chess player, against FM Franklin Palomo from Venezuela, who has a rating of 2700 Elos on chess.com. This is a game of will. So about FM Franklin Palomo, he's a feed master from Venezuela who won the 2020 Venezuela National Chess Championship in Miranda, which is taken to be the hardest tournament in the country. He's a chess coach, and here are some of his students. He played board 1 for Venezuela national team in 2022 during the Chess Olympiad in Chennai, India. While Gong Thon Gong is a chess player from South Sudan who has won the 2022 National Chess Championship of South Sudan, which is the youngest nation in the world. This nation has talented tactical attacking players who play nice games to watch, as you can see in the photo. For example, the likes of Peter Majamanyang, a Jack Match from South Sudan. Gong has won various tournaments like Chireka Open, Kantinti Open. He has represented South Sudan in the 2022 Chennai Chess Olympiad, India. He likes playing the fried liver attack. Ladies and gentlemen, in the white pieces is Gong Thon Gong against FIDE master Franklin Palomo from Venezuela. Gong played e4 and the FIDE master played c5, the Sicilian defense. Knight f3, e6, going for the open Sicilian. d4, and after c takes d4, knight takes d4. In this position, black has a variety of choices to pick on, but FM played knight f6, attacking the pawn which is on e4, and Gong played knight c3. Players below 2000 rating always want to play bishop b4, but it can become a disaster in this opening. After bishop b4, pinning down the knight and threatening to win the pawn which is on e4, then white plays e5, attacking the knight, knight d5. You see that the knight and the bishop are all focusing to take the knight which is on c3, but white will undermine all those attacks and plays queen g4. Now queen g4 is a very powerful move. It's attacking the pawn, king f8, defending the pawn which is on g7, and after bishop d3, knight takes c3. In this position, there is a tactical blow which can begin with knight takes e6 check, opening up for the queen to take the bishop which is on b4. D takes e6 and queen takes the bishop which is on b4 check. After king g8, queen picks the knight which is on c3, knight c3, bishop b4 is not advisable, d6. So after playing d6, the planning to play knight comes to d7, bishop comes to e7, and then short castling. Sting variation you can begin with pawn g4, then pawn g5, which can be a very powerful attack in the position. But Gong played f4 to create the threat of going ahead to push e5 at the right time. Bishop e7, then bishop e3, knight c6, just developing the pieces, then queen comes to f3. Now white is very ready to go ahead and long castle, short castling, and then long castling by white. Bishop d7, completing development, then knight b3, removing the knight so that now they could go ahead and now strike, push the pawns very hard to attack the king side. Rook c8, g4, with an immediate threat of going ahead to play pawn g5. So in this position, black went ahead and played a6. That would be an interesting variation which would begin with d5, and after e takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, e takes d5, sacrificing a pawn, and after rook takes d5, then knight b4, attacking the rook, at the same time threatening to take the pawn which is on c2, at the same time threatening to pin the rook against the queen in this diagonal. I can tell you in this position at least black will have compensation. For example, after rook d2, rook takes c2, rook takes c2, knight takes c2, and after king takes c2, then bishop c6. Let's go back. After g4, Black played a6, and then Gong went ahead to execute his plan by playing g5, attacking the knight. Knight e8, and gives white more attacking chances. King b1, moving the king from this column. b5, rook g1. Black panicked in the position and played f6, pawn takes, then knight can still come back. Hardest move, he played g6. Black played f5, but if in this position black goes ahead and plays h6, then white would have a thunderous attack after playing f5, and after d5, queen h5, bishop d6, trying to create some space for the king. Bishop takes h6, trying to open up the king side, and after g takes h6, g7, attacking the rook, and if rook f7, then queen takes f7, sacrificing the queen. f7, then g8, queen. There's a checkmate looming in 7, and that one I can leave you to solve in your free time. After g6, FM Palomo tried and played f5. Gong has two choices to pick on, either pawn takes the f5 or pawn takes h7. But in case g takes h7, then king h8, played e takes f5, trying to open up the position, and after h6, trying to close the position. F times e6, trying just to open up the position. Bishop takes e6, then he played bishop h3, trying to exchange the bishops off. Bishop takes h3, and then queen takes h3. So now he's ready to go ahead and play pawn comes to f5 and then sacrifice the bishop, which can be the next threat in the position. Palomo played bishop f6. Gong played knight d5, but a more promising and enjoyable attacking move which he would have tried to play would be bishop b6, sacrificing a full bishop. If queen takes bishop, then queen can pick the rook. The bishop is untouchable. So for knight c7, and after knight d5, now you see that the knight is attacking and the bishop is also watching over the square, and the queen is also threatening to take the rook, which is on c8. So knight e7, trying to open up and challenge the knight, which is on d5. Knight takes c7, rook takes c7, then queen e6 check, king h8, knight c5, sacrificing a piece because the knight is untouchable, because now the rook has pinned down the queen. And after queen c8, then bishop takes c7, queen takes e6, then knight takes e6, defending the bishop at the same time attacking the rook, which is on f8. That's why d takes c5 would be advisable, then rook d7. And I can tell you at least white has a winning advantage. Gong played knight d5, rook b8, moving away the rook from c8, which could be attacked by the queen. G e1, trying to centralize the rooks. Queen c8, Gong exchanged the queens. There was a more interesting variation which would begin with f5, and after queen b7, then knight f4, planning to plank the knight on the e6 square. Bishop e5, knight e6, attacking the rook, at the same time putting an eye on the g7 square. Then rook f6, then bishop g5. And I can tell you, in this position, black will be busted. After queen c8, Gong exchanged the queens and played queen takes c8. And after rook takes c8, he played knight d4, trying to bring all the pieces in the game. Bishop h4, attacking the rook, then knight takes c6. In case of bishop takes rook on e1, then knight will go into check, and then it will win back the rook, which is on c8. So that's why you see rook takes c6, and after rook e2, moving away the rook from the attack of the bishop, then f5, trying to go ahead to attack the king side. Bishop f2. In case of bishop takes the bishop on f2, then knight check, checking the king and winning the rook, which is on c8. That's why you see bishop d8, and after bishop d4, then knight f6. Played bishop takes f6, but however there was an interesting variation which would begin with rook e7. If knight takes knight on d5, then rook takes e7. After rook e7, if bishop takes rook, then knight takes bishop, checking the king and attacking the rook, which is on c6, and winning it on the spot. Knight f6. Gong played bishop takes f6, and after bishop takes f6, played rook e6, trying to bring all the pieces in the game. Bishop d8, opening up the column for the rook to attack the pawn, which is on f4. a3, opening up a window for the king to run in case of anything. Bishop h4, trying to find a safe square for the bishop. Rook d3. So rook d3 is a more interesting move. It can swing either to h3 or either to b3, depending on the situation at hand. So played rook f5, attacking the knight. Rook b3. So in case of rook takes knight, then rook check, and that can be checkmate. That's why he played rook c5, so that now if in case you go ahead and check, then rook can still drop back and there is no work done. So in this position, he played another strong move. You see that now this rook is watching over this, the last column. So he went on to try to open up this column for the other rook. Guess the move. He played c4. So in case of rook takes pawn, then rook takes the pawn, which is on b5. B takes c4, then rook e8 check. And after rook f8, rook takes f8 check. King takes f8, then rook b8. And I can tell you that the rest will be history. So after c4, FM played king f8, trying to bring the king closer. And after rook b3, emphasizing rook coming to e8 checkmate. King g8. So that in case you go ahead to play rook e8 check, then the rook will still drop back. So rook times d6. And after b takes c4, knight e7 check, trying to remove the knight from the attack of the rooks. Bishop takes knight, and then rook takes knight. So now he's planning to put the two rooks on the 7th rank, which is called a rank for winners. So in this position, he played rook takes f4, and after rook d8 check, rook f8, then rook was put back on the last column. So rook f5, trying to defend, then king c2, and after rook f2 check, king c3. In this position, the FM resigned. All the pieces of black are tied down, and white is going to go ahead and take the pawn, then push the pawn forward, and the rest can be history. Thank you for watching the channel, and I wish you the best of luck in your games.